welcome to the SVG-TV news for Thursday, February 4th. I am Khalil Kato with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Tuesday recorded its third COVID-19 death. The latest victim is a 76-year-old female who was admitted to the Milton Cater Memorial Hospital on January 31st and died on Wednesday, February 3rd from multi-organ failure due to complications of COVID-19. The National Emergency Management Organization said the woman had multiple pre-existing conditions. NEMO also announced yesterday that the country recorded 8 new COVID-19 cases from samples collected between January 17th and February 2nd. It said that all of the new cases were detected during contact tracing and testing of persons with flu symptoms. There are now 918 local cases of COVID-19, many of whom, NEMO said, are linked as contacts of known positives. 63 additional persons have recovered, bringing the total number of recoveries to 338. 726 cases remain active, and 3 persons with COVID-19 have died. 1,067 cases of COVID-19 have been reported in St. Vincent and the Grenadines since March 2020. NEMO said all positive cases will remain in isolation until cleared. All close contacts of positive cases currently in quarantine are asked to contact the flu clinic in their district to arrange testing for clearance. All residents of and visitors to St. Vincent and the Grenadines are also reminded of the importance of consistently wearing facial coverings, practicing physical distancing, and frequent hand washing or sanitization to reduce the likelihood of being infected with the virus which causes COVID-19. As COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc around the world, quarantining has become the new normal for those who travel or are suspected of contracting the virus. In the second part of our exclusive interview, our news team spoke to a female under the condition of anonymity who detailed her quarantine experience upon returning home to SVG during the 10-day mandatory hotel quarantine, followed by a 4-day home confinement.
I would not say that I had it too badly because I quarantined with my cousin, so we traveled together, we quarantined together, so I had somebody else to, interact with for the 10 days. Persons being alone with their thoughts, we're going through a pandemic, a lot is happening in the world. It can have a lasting effect. So while I was in the States, that's when they announced that it was changing from 5 days from the hotel to 10. So we had already booked the 5 days. So that just meant you're doubling the amount of money you have to pay when you come. So then you have to, watch your pocket money that you had to spend and then started budgeting again to cover the cost of your hotel stay, because at American Airlines, you had to show reservation for the 10 days. They won't let you on the plane without that.
She also shared her interaction with healthcare workers while in quarantine, and her experience mirrored that of our first interviewee last evening.
There's room for improvement in terms of how we go about quarantining persons. When you're home, yes, you stay in your house for 10 plus days. You can clean, you can cook, you can wash, you can find things to do, but sitting down in a hotel room for 10, 14 days, it's menacing. I had to quarantine. Well, I kept myself quarantined for a little over 14 days because I did not get cleared right away at the 14 days. What I noticed was that the nurse that came and tested us, she was not in any protective gear. She just had on a mask. When we work at the hospital, you have to suit up. Even for a person, you're going into a room with somebody with TB, you suit up. We deal with a virus that we don't know what is what yet. And first they just come in. So I found that was kind of weird. What I did like is that they email us every day to fill out a form saying if you experience any symptoms, anything changed.
She also shared how persons going into quarantine can pass their time, noting that the experience can be lonely.
Look for ways to occupy your time beforehand, like plan out your days. You're going to be in a room, so with your thoughts only, that could be mentally draining for some people. So plan out your days.
The Gender Affairs Division, through the Ministry of Mobilization, is working towards the establishment of a 24-hour domestic violence hotline. This was announced in Parliament by Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez during his presentation on the 2021 budget. Minister Gonzalez said that due to COVID-19, Women who are vulnerable to domestic abuse have found themselves stuck indoors with potential abusers for extended periods of time, and the hotline would help to counter the problem.
The Gender Affairs Division procured personal protective equipment for home health caregivers who provide services to the elderly, the poor, the shut-in, and the disabled in communities. And we are in the process, of establishing a 24-hour domestic violence hotline in an effort to counter gender-based violence, especially during this time of challenge. More broadly, the government has continued to recognize and include women in leadership roles throughout the public service and address issues related to women's empowerment, resilience, and inclusion at all levels of society.
Minister of Gender Affairs and Youth Orlando Brewster said that a child abuse hotline is also in the making.
Our ministry is also aiming to establish a national child abuse hotline. And I heard the Honorable Senator John ask about support for our youth in terms of counseling. So in 2021, we are looking to establish a national child abuse hotline which will aid in such. Also on the child development, in 2021, the Ministry of Mobilization aims to strengthen the skills development program at all child protection institutions. And Madam Speaker, this includes the Liberty Lodge Boys Training Center. In 2021, under gender development, again, our ministry will address the issue of domestic violence by developing a national hotline for the victims of such abuse.
Minister Brewster said that there will be mentorship programs for the youth and care for the elderly will be extended. He said they will also be working with disability organizations to ensure that members are empowered economically through skills training. Brewster, who is also responsible for the Ministry of Housing, said the distribution of building materials will continue this year, as well as the construction of homes for the vulnerable.
Expected to continue in 2021. But we must, from the ministry and government level, ensure greater efficiency and eliminate wastage so that this program could meet the needs of the poor in this country. Also under the ambits of housing and informal settlement is the Housing Infrastructure Improvement Project.
And in his contribution to the budget debate, opposition MP for Central Kingstown, Sinclair Leacock, said the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the government's weak policies and no attempt was made to correct them in the 2021 budget.
Those are structural and systemic weaknesses which, Madam Speaker, have not been corrected by this regime over its 20 years. And this budget is not even a good start at that, Madam Speaker. The budget fails to correct that. It is in fact still today's government trying to solve yesterday's problems in the New Democratic Party. And on this side of the House, Madam Speaker, we make the case and the argument that we have to be today's policy framers and makers and legislators, visioning and missioning for tomorrow's children and for our grandchildren, if I may add.
Leacock said the government is operating on a steady deficit with nothing much in the 2021 budget for the people.
A government presents a deficit budget and continues to grow by deficits. It simply means that the government doesn't have enough counter part funds. They have no fat for capital projects. None. And it explains why, in large measure, several government programs remain just what they are. Programs. They have no teeth, they have no legs. Government can't make their own contribution.
The National Insurance Services, the NIS, today announced that it has taken the decision to extend the payment of its temporary unemployment benefit program effective January 4th until March 27th. The NIS said employers are required to submit a letter stating the status of all employees so that verification of eligibility for the temporary unemployment benefit can be made. In regards to the new applicants for this benefit, the NIS said persons are required to submit a declaration of unemployment status form and a layoff certificate to the office or via email nis@nissvg.org. Persons can also visit the NIS website for application forms. Medical cannabis, or that should be St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has welcomed its first medical cannabis dispensary on December 28, 2020. The facility boasts a range of products to treat several illnesses and ailments. Speaking with SVG-TV News today from their Bentic Square location, country manager of Green Lava Pharmacy, Hilton Dalzell, said persons must be 18 and over to access the dispensary's products. He said they will also need a medical marijuana card, which they can get from a certified physician or by speaking with an in-house physician during a virtual consultation at the dispensary.
You could contact your local doctors, or you could come here and consult with one of our virtual consultation, where you could actually speak to a doctor on Skype, and then he send the prescription to us and we fill it. We have doctors on staff. You go online, thegreenlava.com. There's all the categories with all the different products and the doctors you could consult with. Once you get the clear away from the doctor, you come.
Dalzell said Green Lava offers a variety of cannabis products to treat a range of illnesses and ailments, including nausea, muscle pains, anxiety, insomnia, depression, seizures, and more.
We have, of course, flour. We have resin. We have the topical creams, roll-on, gummies, edibles. There's a line of edibles. CBD at the moment, we are not allowed to sell THC edibles yet. There's a very relaxed, flexible range of products to go with the ailments. Ailments will go from anxiety, you could use the flour, insomnia, seizures. The creams, of course, will be for muscle pain and so on. The gummies, again, the same anxiety, nausea, the list goes on.
For persons who may be skeptical about using alternative medicine, such as medical cannabis, Dalzell shared his reason for getting involved in the projected $44 billion industry.
I could give you a personal story. The reason why I am in this, my last son, he's 3 years old. Hi, Zion. He was born on the autistic spectrum, and he had a seizure disorder, really bad. Talking about like 2-3 seizures a day. And just with the application of cannabis, he didn't have a seizure for a year. So if you're skeptical, from a pause reason, it works.
Green Lava is not yet open to the general public, but persons can visit their website at thegreenlava.com for more information. The growth of the new lava dome at La Soufrière continues in a lateral direction. So says lead scientist monitoring the volcano, Dr. Thomas Christopher, who was responding to questions through the UWI Seismic Research Center weekly program on YouTube. Dr. Christopher said the lateral growth continues to be observed from the Belmont Observatory at Rose Hall.
It's something that we noticed over the past week and a half or so, that the lateral motion has actually picked up or increased relative to the vertical motion. And basically what the issue is the space it has to grow in dictates how it grows. So because we have the old dome acting as a buttress behind of it, and the new dome as another buttress in front of it, it's more or less squeezed in the east-west direction. So basically, north-south growth would be predominant, and then we have the vertical growth. I think what we've noticed is that the vertical growth would have slowed down some bit, and the growth is more laterally extensive than not so much vertical. But it does not say that the extrusion rate has dropped. It's still coming up, but it's just being distributed slightly differently to how it was a few weeks ago.
The gas specialist said that the team continues to install instruments at various locations as the weather permits them to do so. Vincentians have been granted a U.S. visa renewal interview waiver. This announcement was made by the United States Embassy in Barbados and took effect yesterday. The embassy said that the waiver is part of the United States government's continuing efforts to facilitate travel with their Caribbean partners, improve customer service during the COVID-19 pandemic, and streamline the visa renewal process. It said passport holders from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with the exception of beneficiaries of the Citizen by Investment programs, may qualify for the waiver if their previous visa has expired within the past 2 years and they're applying for the same visa category as the previous visa. The stipulations for the waiver are that an applicant must be physically present in their home country or within the consular district of the U.S. Embassy in Barbados. The consular district comprises of Anguilla, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, British Virgin Islands, Dominica, Grenada, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, French St. Martin, and SVG. Additionally, the previous U.S. visa must be in the applicant's possession, and the applicant must have submitted a 10-fingerprint scan in conjunction with the previous visa application. The embassy said students who wish to renew their visas and who satisfy the aforementioned requirements may qualify for the interview waiver. If they are applying to continue attendance at the same institution or will continue the same major course of study at a different institution. Applicants seeking to renew work-related visas who are returning to work for the same employer or company as annotated by the previous visa may also qualify. Applicants under the age of 14 and over 79 will continue to qualify for interview waivers in most visa classifications. Applicants who acquired SVG citizenship via an economic citizenship program and all third country nationals will, however, still be required to schedule visa interviews for visa renewals. The embassy noted that eligibility for the interview waiver does not automatically entitle applicants to a waiver of the interview requirement, and that meeting the general qualifications for a visa renewal interview waiver does not guarantee that an applicant will not be requested to present him or herself in person for an interview at the embassy. Opposition MP for the Southern Grenadines and spokesperson on education, Terrance Ollivierre, said that there is a need for the re-engineering of the local education system to cater for the needs of all in a technological environment. In his contribution to the budget debate, Ollivierre said that education is the most powerful weapon that can be used to change the world. And if education is to be used as a weapon, there should be ammunition that can be used successfully to navigate this era of the pandemic, which has evidently impacted the teaching and learning environment. The opposition MP said the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the flaws and weaknesses in the education system.
Phase 1, which started in the academic school year 2010 to 2011, and the Phase 2, which started from 2013 to 2014, its failure show that we are indeed experiencing problems. We have experienced problems in order to digitize our education system for the benefit of all. We started since 2010. Until now, Madam Speaker, we can't get it right. We are experiencing many problems, so it means that we are playing catch-up. We have heard the cries of many stakeholders, Madam Speaker, including that of the teachers' union, parents, teachers, as to the gap in access to resources in technology. And this glaring gap, and there's a glaring gap between the haves and the don't haves, Madam Speaker.
Ollivierre suggested things that the Education Ministry needs to put in place to ensure everyone is comfortable and at a place where teaching and learning can happen without anyone being left behind. Some of his suggestions include more devices, reliable internet service, and the inclusion of all students on the school's feeding program.
Madam Speaker, if we want to be ahead, if we want to achieve and to make sure that all students in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we must not only train our teachers to use e-learning or to teach via e-learning, but we must also create the necessary platforms that teachers can feel efficacious in using, and students who have the electricity and the device, which should be all, could make use of their educational opportunities. There should be access to nutritious meals for those on the school feeding program while school remains closed. And if we have the will to reach our people and provide for them, we must find a way once you have the will.
Ollivierre said that the government should ensure that the education system is resilient, flexible, and ready to deal not only with the COVID-19 situation, but with the challenges of the future.
We have to make sure that our education system is resilient, it is flexible, it is innovative, and ready to deal not only with the present COVID-19 situation, but the challenges of the future. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we must make sure that our schools are so equipped that we can deal with both physical and virtual teaching and learning, that it can happen. And our education system must lead the way, not only for our students' development, but for the development of this country.
Meanwhile, Minister of Education Curtis King said that no matter what is being done to improve the education system, it continues to be criticized, and some of the criticisms are without merit. Making his contribution to the debate on the 2021 budget, the Education Minister said the government purchased devices for students, trained teachers to incorporate technology in their teaching, and even engaged the support of telecommunications company Dalzell to introduce Microsoft Teams for e-learning, and not much appreciation is being shown for these efforts.
The hue and the cry of some educators who felt that the Ministry of Education was not ready because they had no common policy, they had no common platform. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Education responded by engaging the support of Dalzell to introduce the platform called Microsoft Teams and use that as the choice for the ministry and encourage the schools to use that platform.
Minister King said that the opposition and others continue to degrade teachers with their comments, as though a teacher should have a degree before incorporating technology as part of their teaching method. King said he is confident in teachers' ability to conduct online classes using the Microsoft Teams.
If you listen to some of them, including the representative from the Southern Grenadines, you will think that our educators have to go and pursue a 3-year degree in using Microsoft Teams. Well, as a teacher, and I still consider myself a teacher, and a former principal myself, I am not selling the teaching fraternity that short, because I know that they are committed, intelligent, and that they have the capacity to provide online teaching using Microsoft. Most of them are doing it today.
Minister King said his ministry is always seeking opportunities to deal with the challenges in the education system, and that the opposition and other stakeholders are welcome on board to further develop the system.
I hear all the cry and the hue. I am saying we're not that kind of people. We are a resilient people who always look for opportunities to surmount whatever challenges we have. So I invite the member from the Southern Grenadines and all the educators out there, let us work together to ensure we get this thing right. Because the ones who stand to benefit most are our children. And ultimately, our society would benefit.
Government has budgeted some $3 million for the continuation of its Promoting Youth Micro-Enterprise Prime program. Other than offering youths the opportunity to start up a business, Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez, in his budget presentation, said that new staff will be hired to ensure efficiency in executing the programs this year and onwards.
Budget 2021 continues its robust support for the Prime program. This year, we will expand staff to reduce application backlog and apply lessons learned in year one to make the program more efficient and responsive to applicants. The Prime program will also expand its initiative of constructing community enterprise zones for young entrepreneurs, adding a Mariqua facility to the one currently under construction in East St. George.
No mention was made as to whether the program will be extended this year to persons over 40 years. Last year, due to COVID-19, persons over 40 were afforded the opportunity to access grants to start up their businesses or further advance their business. Minister Gonzalez told Parliament the Prime program was a success last year, which saw more than 882 grants given out.
The ECPCGC is an OECS-wide facility that has been set up to allow micro, small, and medium enterprises to have greater access to loans at local banks. As the name suggests, the Partial Credit Guarantee Corporation will offer partial guarantees on loans, thereby reducing the risks that banks face in extending credit to new and small businesses. The government is once again urging the banking community to make aggressive use of this important facility for small business persons in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The Ministry of Transport and Works will take steps this year to ensure that all drivers across the ministry are trained in defensive techniques and safety. So said Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works Montgomery Daniel in contributing to the 2021 budget debate.
Particularly school bus drivers, be well trained with defensive driving techniques and safety. We want to make sure that all of these school bus drivers improve on their techniques and the way they treat the children on the school buses. There has also been a daunting issue that has been plaguing the ministry for some time, and that is the contribution of school bus fees for the services provided by the government. This year, the department will be pursuing this activity very vigorously to ensure compliance.
Minister Daniel noted the problem they are facing with the abuse of government vehicles, saying that there are new programs in place to deal with this issue. He further noted that the Electrical Inspectorate Division will be implementing review proposals for the restructuring of inspection fees.
Changes of the 18th edition of the Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers regulations will establish training for staff in the area of electrical fire forensic as well as photovoltaic inspection. Critical to the functioning of this department for this year is the reintroduction of the licensing board and to restructure the licensing system. The reason for this, Madam Speaker, is that presently there are over 600 licensed wiremen, far too many in this country. The department will want to regularize this profession to ensure that there is improved levels of order and decency in this profession.
Minister Daniel highlighted some of the projects that will be done under the Engineering and Project Management Service of his ministry.
The remedial works at AIA, where there is need for river training and the construction of weirs both upstream and downstream of the 5 culverts crossing under the runway. There will be the continued program of the construction of roads under the phase 1 of the QAT project. Some 11 roads have been identified for this refurbishing, and I've mentioned those before. Similarly, there will also be the beginning of the construction of the phase 2 of this UFID project, financed by UFID. And in this project, some 12 roads are identified to be completed.
The Transport and Works Ministry, that is, this year, will also see badges provided to security guards at schools so they can be easily identified.